If you or someone you know has diabetes, you may have built up an extra supply of test strips and lancets. That's where we come in. We'll buy the supplies that you don't need and resell them to those in need to prevent waste. Help us make diabetes management more affordable. Visit us at teststripswithaz.com.
All right, we have Brandon Fleming on the show. He returns to action this Saturday night. Cage Titans 47 takes on Ali Zebian. Another fun fight on this loaded card to kick off 2020 for Cage Titans. How are you, Brandon? Good to see you, man.
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So, as you know, I did listen to a bit of your interview with Steve Domenico, and let me just say first off, and I know we sort of touched on this, but I want to throw this out here for the world to hear anyways. I want to say that what Steve does for the New England regional fight scene is phenomenal. I mean, that guy deserves a lot of credit for what he does, and I think he's owed a giant debt of gratitude, if we're being honest. But something you said in that conversation stuck out to me. You did mention Flow Combat. You had seen some interviews that had come out in conjunction with this card. I didn't take it in a bad way because you had said, no one really reached out to me. I get it. But, like I talked to you before, like the interviews I'd done, most of the managers had reached out to me, and I never turn down interviews unless it's a time or a scheduling thing. So right off the bat, I just wanted to address that and just get that out of the way before we roll here.
No, definitely. I understand how that works. I don't have a manager that reaches out to people, so. But no, I appreciate you taking the time to do this. I mean, yeah, like you said, Domenico, he's a great guy. He does so much for the area. Definitely, I think that, like I told him, the media is definitely underappreciated when it comes to fighting. Like you guys don't have to do this.
Yeah, and now we know each other, so the future is bright for us doing chats together. But this is all about you. This is not about me. But I just wanted to get that out of the way. But big fight coming up on Saturday. How has everything gone to this point? We're 5 nights away as we record this conversation right now.
It's going great. Yeah, today was my first big water load. Actually, yesterday was my water load day. Weight's right on point. Like right now I'm still drinking about 2 gallons a day. And then slowly we'll go down to 1 and then half a gallon and then I'll dehydrate. But no, overall the camp went great. This weight cut's gonna be way easier. My goal is to go to 145. So 155 is gonna be easy. Like I'm 166 right now, fully hydrated. So very easy cut. But the overall fight camp, no injuries. I have 4 other teammates from South Shore, or 3 other teammates from South Shore that are fighting on this card. So overall, I mean, we had a great camp. It was a good time.
So I was going through and doing some research as I typically do it. I noticed you've had some very tough fights throughout your career. 2 that really stuck out to me. I knew about the Rob Font fight, but I didn't know you fought Des Green until I went through and did some research. You went to a decision with both of those guys. Both guys have fought for or are still in the UFC. I'm not really sure what Des Green is up to. I mean, we know he's got some things going on outside of the cage, but it's hard not to take anything away from either of those fights, right? Like, what did you learn from those 2 fights?
Well, the Rob Font one was definitely don't leave it in the judge's hands. It was such a close fight. Like I was telling somebody the other day, like to literally until I saw the video last week, I thought I won that fight just because, there's certain things that you remember from the fight, but you don't remember the things that he did to you. So like, I thought I won the fight for the last 7 years, and then I finally saw the video. So I learned a lot from that fight. Like I use that fight for motivation even today, because Rob works his ass off and he's a great fighter, but I know that I could get to where he is, you know what I mean? So I just have to stay active and, use that fight as motivation. The Des Green fight, kind of the same ball game. I kind of gave him the fight. I played into his strength. Like he's a wrestler. I'm a wrestler. He's a better wrestler, So I learned that, you got to swallow your pride and do something different, change your game plan. So that was that fight. But the worst part about it is I lost to Rob. Rob actually lost to Des Green earlier in his career. So I thought after I lost to Rob, hey, I'll go fight Des Green and I'll beat him. And then that will erase my Rob Font loss. So in like the next 3 weeks, there was a card and Dez's opponent pulled out. So I was like, fuck it, let's go. I'll fight him. And I fought him at 155. So, yeah, I learned a lot. You got to kind of swallow your pride sometimes and sit back and be like, okay, is that a smart fight right now in my career? I was young. I told my coach, like, listen, there's nothing you're going to say that's going to change my mind in this fight. I'm taking this fight at 100%. So, but I learned a lot. I'm a lot smarter now.
So you didn't watch the fight with Font for 7 years?
I couldn't find the film. I could not find.
What was that like?
It was rough, Like I would have my friends come up and be like, "Do you remember when you you beat that kid?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Have you seen the fight? I'm like, "Nope." And then I finally got Mike Polvier to tell me who the production person was, and then I reached out to him, and he had to dig deep because that was 8 years ago. And he's like, "Oh, I found it for you." So, but it was good to see. It was a fun fight, and I like to say that I got to be able to get in the cage with one of the best in the world.
Is there a part of you that wishes you never watched that fight? Like, now that you have it,
No.
do you regret watching it, knowing that you felt like you won the whole time, and then after watching, you're like, maybe I didn't win, or did you really need to know the answer to that question?
No, I really wanted to know, but also Rob showed a lot of my weaknesses in that fight, So even during this fight camp, I was still thinking, I'm like, oh damn, I kind of still do that. And Rob had a really good game plan in that fight. So for him to show my weaknesses, I think that's why I lost. He did what I was bad at. He tried to he got the center of the cage and he tried to control the cage. Stop my takedowns, and he did a good job. So I'm not taking anything away from him, but. No, I learned a lot from that fight, but I learned a lot from every fight. I learned a lot more from my losses than my wins.
So between September of 2014 and the beginning of last year, you took we'll call it a sabbatical from the competition side of the sport. Usually you see fighters take a year, maybe 2, but it's very rare to see somebody get that itch again to get back in there over 4 years later. So what inspired the break for you, and what ultimately made you want to get back in there and fight and scratch that itch?
So out of high school, I was supposed to go to Johnson & Wales, little small Division III school in Rhode Island. Amazing wrestling team. They're a cooking school, and then they're a wrestling school. So people from all over the country go there just to wrestle, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. So I went there. I didn't get in. So from when I was 18 to 21, I was just fighting. But the wrestling coach always, every year, he'd be like, "Hey man, how about you take a few classes and try to get in?" And then after a few years, you don't have to take classes. You can do night school there. So he was like, "Dude, I want you to come here." He was like, "You can get a degree." He was like, "Give up that." He hated fighting at the time. So he was like, "Give up fighting." He was like, "Just come wrestle, get a degree, get a good job, He's like, "Why wouldn't you do that?" So, and at the time I had a fight for Bellator against Blair Tubman. So midway through that camp, I got accepted into Johnson & Wales. So half the camp, I'm like, right after this fight, I leave for college. I'm gonna go wrestle, and it was just kind of it was a weird situation because that coach never gave up on me, and to this day, he follows my career. He really cares about people. So I got a degree, and he pushed me. I wasn't a whiz in school. I was lazy when it came to grades and stuff. I just wanted to wrestle. So he stayed on me, and just those 4 years that I wrestled there, my wrestling went so much higher. I won states in high school, but to go to college and wrestle with everyone, you had kids winning states in Jersey, Pennsylvania, to wrestle with those guys, it was a huge stepping stone in my life, and I'm very grateful that I did that. And to be honest, when I left the sport of fighting, I was doing it for the wrong reasons. I was really UFC or die. If I don't make the UFC, I stress myself out so bad that it kind of took over my life, and I just had to sit down and be like, "Hey, listen, do this as a hobby. If you take it anywhere, it'll be awesome."
Was your wrestling better after fighting? You know what I mean? When you went back to college and you had some fights under your belt, was your wrestling better? Did you feel like it was better because you with the jiu-jitsu and all the other stuff going on, you probably saw more openings, some different things that some guys that only wrestled may not see. Did you feel like your wrestling got a little bit better? Or did you feel like you had to shake some rust off?
Little, certain situations, but college wrestling is it's a whole nother animal. Jiu-jitsu slowed my wrestling down, if anything. So when I was wrestling, and then you go from training with these high level just wrestlers, and then you go into jiu-jitsu where people don't care if you really take them down, you know what I mean? They'll fall into guard. And then you go back to wrestling with people that don't want you to take them down, and they don't fall to guard. So the initial, it's a higher level, I would shoot in on somebody and they would sprawl. People don't really do that in jiu-jitsu. Like a lot of guys, I can take a lot of jiu-jitsu guys down that, like in wrestling, I would shoot in and be like, shit, like they don't do this in jiu-jitsu, you know? So that transfer kind of, it was tough. My first year, it was tough. I was getting beat by kids that were like 18 right out of high school that were just like from Jersey and they were hungry, you know? But over the time, I picked it back up and I'm so grateful for it.
And now you're back in MMA. You came back with some gusto, 3 wins, 3 finishes as you get ready for Saturday night. What did you learn about yourself, you know, during the time off from fighting and wrestling, and what influence did all of that have on this comeback tour you're on and the performances that you've had? Like, what did those 4 years do for you in terms of becoming the fighter that you are right now?
My mentality, you know, like I said, I used to do it for all the wrong reasons. Now I do it as a hobby, and you have to have fun. If you're not having fun, why are you doing it? And I wasn't having fun before. So every day I come into training and I tell myself I'm going to have fun. Even if I'm sucked out and I'm cutting weight for a fight, you still have to find something that is fun about it that day. And you just have to look back and be like, okay, well, he beat me today, but I beat him the other day, you know, and you can't have an ego at the gym. And I used to have a huge ego at the gym. So that's huge. And I think just not putting the UFC on a pedestal anymore. You know what I mean? Not putting Bellator on a pedestal, not putting those big promotions on a pedestal, because I know I can get there, you know? And I used to be like, oh my God, like I have to make it, you know? But now I'm just like, yeah, well, you know, whatever. If I make it, I make it.
Now you get Ali Zebian, who's 3-1 as a pro. He's got 3 finishes. It's going to be his Cage Titans debut. It's never easy walking into the Cage Titans cage for the first time, especially at Memorial Hall. But he's 25 years old. He's been fighting for a long time, which you didn't even realize. But the New England scene is a small circle, but, you know, he still fought outside the Cage Titans organization. I'm sure you've heard the name heading into the fight, but how familiar with him in terms of fighting were you with Ali when you got this fight?
I watched this fight with Matt Probin for Bellator because I used to have the same sponsor as Probin, so I was like, oh, I'll tune in and watch that kid fight. And he fought Ali, and I was like, oh, that'd be a good fight for me because he's a wrestler, but I just don't think he's like on the same level as wrestling, and he's very like basic with his stand-up. So when I told my coach, I was like, hey, what do you think about this guy? He's like, I love it. And usually like I'll look at guys on Tapology and I'll be like, hey, like, what do you think about this guy? He's like, yeah, maybe in a few fights, or like maybe down the road we'll fight him, you know? So he definitely puts me in my place when I'm like, oh, I think I could beat him. It's like, I think he could too, but, you know, like right now I think there's a better fight for you. So, but obviously a lot of respect for him. He's definitely a tough opponent. He only has 1 loss. He's coming off a 4th round knockout. So like, I know how he feels because, I mean, you go 4 rounds and you're like, all right, am I going to finish this guy or not? You know, or am I going to take to the 5th round? And for him to get a finish, it's huge for just his mentality. So he's coming off a big win. And I just think that he has all the confidence in the world right now. He has a belt for another promotion, and it's just going to be a good fight. I have 3 wins last year, you know, we're both just hungry. And I think it's just going to be it's going to be a fast-paced fight. I know that.
You mentioned South Shore sport fighting. You mentioned how there's a lot of your teammates fighting on this card, a lot of South Shore representation coming up on Saturday night. I know Johnny Campbell, Joe Giannetti, you know, I know Manny trains there, Chris O'Brien, who sort of got this whole ball rolling for us conversing here. What's the vibe in the gym like right now with everyone getting ready for fights on Saturday?
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, Mondays and Wednesdays are MMA days, and we just go at it. You know, we have 4 fighters now. Manny's actually fighting, so he's been more active now. But I mean, just it's good when everyone's fighting, you know, because everyone's in here. Everyone's on the same diet, you know. Everyone's cutting weight, so we're all on the same page. Like I'll come in and be like, Jojo, what are you weighing today? You know what I mean? Just to keep people in check. And sometimes you can it gets so monotonous that like every day you come in, you're doing the same thing, but. Overall, I mean, we try to switch it up and stay active. So right now it's awesome, though. I mean, I just trying to make sure that we all make weight and we all win.
Is there a certain brotherly attitude going on right now? Like, of course, you want each other to win. You're supporting each other, but are you talking a little bit of smack on who's going to steal the show and who's going to look a little more impressive on Saturday?
You know, it's fun. We don't talk that much about like the actual show itself. I think we focus on like the day by day thing, you know. So it's like, hey, how you feeling today? And then like that night, I'll be like, hey, kick ass out there, you know. But we don't really joke around like that. We're more. It's very serious. At this gym, we are serious. I mean, there's a time and a place to joke around, but when there's fights coming up, I mean, we all have the same goal, and we all want to get there. So we got to kind of stay active and, you know, not really mess around too much. I mean, there's a time and a place for it.
Did you watch my interview with Johnny Campbell?
I did.
Did you see the gold chain? What do you think of the gold chain? What's up with the? What did you think of that whole thing?
Johnny Campbell is his own person. Like I've known that man for like 12 years, and every single time he does an interview or anytime like we do a live interview with like Cage Titans or something, he says the most outrageous shit. And I'm like, I don't even know where he comes up with it, to be honest. Like the stuff he talks about, and you know what, Johnny's like the nicest guy, but if you're fighting him, I honestly feel bad for you because he wants to literally rip your face off. It's like, that's just who he is. It's the weirdest thing because in here, you'll train with him, and he's got no ego. He's got nothing. He just wants to get better. But as soon as you get in that cage, or if you sign a contract saying you're fighting Johnny Campbell, he hates you up until his hand is raised after that fight.
Yeah, he's a character. He's just so funny to talk to. But the vibe of this card is pretty fantastic because there's some guys fighting on Saturday that have been, you know, opening a lot of eyes, not just on the regional scene, but, you know, around the country as well. Could be knocking on the door of that potential game-changing phone call, perhaps, you know, contender series and whatnot. I know you're not putting the UFC on a pedestal or any of these bigger organizations on a pedestal, but do you feel like with the current run you're on, you think you're one of those guys that Mike Pulver's talking about? Yeah,
you know, the UFC wants finishes, you know, and I got 3 last year, so I'm just going to keep finishing people, you know, and I'm going to make it just so they can't say no, you know. You have to separate yourself. There's so many good fighters, not even just on this card. In the U.S. and the world, there's so many fighters the UFC can choose from. So, I mean, you got to do something to separate yourself, whether it's be a weirdo on social media or just be a really, really great fighter, you know. But for this card, it's insane how many good fighters are on it. There's guys that were already on the contender. There's guys that were in the UFC. You know, they had a few fights in the UFC. There's guys that should have been in the UFC a while ago, but they just haven't got their calling yet. So, I mean, overall, this card, the pro card is insane. You know, from start to finish, it's going to be just crazy fights.
Is this the best card in Cage Titans history, in your opinion?
I've seen a lot of great cards in the New England area. It might be up there with the best card in New England, like skill level wise and just depth of the card. Like, yeah, I mean, CES has had some great events. I mean, even Reality's had some great events, but I really think this card, with the talent that's on it and like the amount of contenders that can jump to the next level on it, it just separates itself. It's on another level now.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good weekend of fights here in New England. So how do you build upon a big 2019? How do you do 2020 even better, Brandon? Starting with Saturday night, how does this fight play out with Ali Zebian at Cage Titans 47?
You know what? Just put him away. There's really no other way to say it. You know, I can say I'm gonna go out there and hurt him. I'm going out there to finish him. And I mean, that's what the crowd wants, you know. They want finishes. And everyone else just, I want to finish, you know. I don't want to go 3 rounds and be like, fuck, I beat him, but I beat him by a decision. Like, that doesn't do anything for me. I'm back to square one if I do that. So, getting a finish and just, you know, getting my name out there. Like, I just started doing social media. I didn't have an Instagram, and everyone that I fight was like, dude, you're a weirdo. Like, it's 2020. You need to get an Instagram. So I just got one of those. But other than that, you know, just I want to stay active. So this card, April, June, July, hopefully my goal is to have at least 5 fights. So, I mean, if I can have 5 fights and win all 5, you know, that will 12-3 sounds a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, we're not looking past Saturday, but, you know, if all goes the way you hope it will on Saturday night in Plymouth, Mass., what kinds of fights you're going to be looking at with a win? I know you were talking about you want to get down to 45. Do you think your next fight will be there? Or are you just looking for the most exciting, big-time fights you can get at 55, 45, or wherever at this point?
Yeah, my goal is definitely to make 145. Like I said, I'm I'm 11 pounds from 155, and I'm 4 days out from weighing. So I'm perfect right now for 155. But I think I can make 145 after this fight. I mean, I'm focused on this fight, but down the road, I think 145. You can see me there. It's all, you know what? It's really the matchups. You know, I'll fight at 145. I'll fight at 155. It's really who they have in front of me, and it's what's the best for my career.
If we're having this conversation this time next year, what are we talking about?
Honestly, hopefully my amazing 2020. Be like, man, you stayed undefeated through 2019 and 2020, and you're going into 2021 rolling.
Love it, man. Brandon Fleming joining us, takes on Ali Zebian this Saturday night, Cage Titans 47 at the iconic Plymouth Memorial Hall in Plymouth, Massachusetts. If you can't make it there, you can catch all the action on Flow Combat. Brandon, thank you for the time, man. Before we let you go, let the folks know where they can find and follow you on the web, your new Instagram account, any shout-outs, anything else you want to get off your chest. The floor is yours.
Yeah, for sure. So I just want to thank everyone from my team at South Shore, and then everyone at Lazon's. I go there on Saturdays. Great group of guys over there. Great group of guys at South Shore. And then just overall, I mean, my fiance, we actually just got engaged. I have a baby boy on the way as well. So for her to be pregnant and dealing with me during a fight camp is it's huge. You know, like you need that backbone. You know, if you don't have that, it's tough. But other than that, my parents, all my sponsors, just my friends and family who come out and watch, you know, it's. I try to explain to people how good this card is, and they don't get it. Like, I'm like, this card is, you don't want to miss it. Like, even if you want to see me lose, come see this fight. But other than that, my new Instagram, it's bflemingmma_155. That will soon change to 145. But right now, it's _155. You can follow me there. I have a huge following on Facebook as well. So if you haven't bought a ticket or if you want to come, I have tickets still up until Thursday. And I appreciate you reaching out to me and getting this going. You don't understand how much it means. It's to get your name out there is hard.
Yeah, I get it, man. I'm dealing with the same thing on this side as well. Is this gonna be your first kid?
Yep. Yes, it is.
You nervous? You excited? Like, I mean, it's hard to prepare. You can have everyone. I have a 6-year-old now. I can give you all the advice in the world, but it's not going to mean anything because you have to experience it for yourself. But let's make this as positive as possible. What are you looking forward to the most at this point in this dream vision of what you think fatherhood's going to be like? What are you looking forward to the most?
Honestly, the only thing I'm praying for right now is that she stays healthy and he comes out healthy. That's my number one thing. After that, you know, obviously, I mean, he's gonna as soon as he can walk, he's gonna be wrestling. But other than that, as long as he's healthy, you know. But the biggest thing I look forward to, I don't know. There's so many things to look forward to. You know, it's just seeing him for the first time. Probably that's gonna be cool.
Yeah, it's that I can tell you. You're gonna. I cried like a baby. I'm not afraid to say it. Yeah. Cried like a baby. I cried more than my wife. I'm not going to lie. It was just an amazing thing. I'm like, please cry. And he cried. And I'm like, yes, this is great. It's an amazing thing. My goal was take him to Fenway Park. Like, that was the thing I wanted to do. Take him to Fenway, take him to a Red Sox game. And I got to do that last summer. Him, myself, and my father all went last year. It was pretty awesome. So at least you get to... awesome. You'll have all those great things to look forward to, along with no sleep and all that other fun stuff that comes with it. But appreciate it, Brandon. Get some sleep now. Get ready for the fight on Saturday, and all the best to you. Appreciate it.
Definitely. Take it easy, man.